but I get asked, if not daily, then at least a couple of times a week, if I have any tutorials on drafting pants patterns. And so I figured it was time I actually resurrected an old tutorial, which is a very simplified version, and show you my method that is a bit more detailed as well. So I have two different methods. We'll also review how you could create a pants pattern using an item of clothing. I'm not going to be covering those tutorials today. This is more a kind of like overview of the different methods to do so. I hope that makes sense. I put a post out on Insta and I think on TikTok as well, and everyone wants to know how to make pant patterns. So that's what I'm going to teach you. So I've previously covered, I'm not sure if it's in video form, but definitely over on my website, I've covered the 5 different methods that you can use to create a pattern. The first is the most obvious to me, which is to do the pattern drafting using your own measurements. And that's what I'm going to be showing you using my detailed method in one of the upcoming tutorial videos. The second method is to clone your existing clothes. So if you've got a pair of trousers or pants that you really love, you can always clone those. I have another tutorial on that as well. All of these links to these tutorials I'm going to pop in the description below, but I actually do have a tutorial that shows you how to clone a pair of denim jeans. You want a tracing wheel and paper, obviously, and you'll probably want a cutting mat underneath because the tracing wheel will mark your table, but that's a perfectly viable method too. The third is deconstructing. When I went to fashion school, I actually did a lot of deconstructing. I did it before I went to fashion school, before I was accepted, so I could put together a portfolio. But I also did it while I was there. If I didn't understand how something was made, I would take it apart. And then I would take the pattern from it and I would put it back together again. And it's a really good method for learning. So another method might be to actually take a commercial sewing pattern that you love, get the fit perfect, and then develop that into a block for yourself. Obviously, if you do that, you can't then use that block as a template for any paid products that you might create and sell, because that would be going against the personal use aspect of most sewing pattern that allows you that freedom to use it for non-personal use, use it for commercial use, that's the word. So that's the fourth method. The final method is to drape on the stand. Now this is really easy if you've got a dress form and you're draping like a bodice, a sleeve, that kind of thing. It's a lot harder if you're trying to make a pair of trousers, like a pants pattern. The reason for this is because most dress forms aren't bifurcated. They don't have the 2 sections for the legs. There are some that do. It will have like a partial split for the legs, and the pole will go through one of the legs. Those are normally the more expensive dress forms. If you don't know anything about dress forms, I've got a video on that which I'll link one, I never know which side it's going to be, and I'll also link it in the description below. If you're able to get a dress form, then I find that draping is the best way. Obviously draping on yourself would be the best because you're going to get the perfect fit. Unfortunately, it's really hard to do that. Not a lot of people can drape on their own body. So finding a dress form is the next best thing if you can get one that is quite similar to your body. And then of course you're going to go through a fitting process. Now I would normally fit on myself haphazardly using mirrors, and I have a method. Well, I don't have a method, I just use what I've been taught over the years and then tweaked that works for me. There's also another method that I will be testing out called top down center out by somebody called Ruth Collins. There's a series of videos here on YouTube, I believe, as well. So most people would use that method in order to test the fit of an existing pattern, like a commercial sewing pattern, just to tweak the fit to get it to fit them the way that they want it to, whilst maintaining the designer's intent. Because obviously when you create a pattern as a pattern designer, you're doing so with this design in mind, okay? And if you end up taking that pattern and adapting it for various conceived fit issues, you're no longer necessarily keeping that pattern true to the designer's intent. And so by using Ruth's methodology of top down center out, the aim is to maintain that design integrity. So you're not kind of like eliminating all the design aspects. So I want to actually apply that method to fitting a drafted block. So I'll be doing that as a tutorial as well. And then of course, once you've got that, you can use your block for anything. So this is the pattern using my methodology at a 5th scale. When I show you the tutorial, I will be showing you it in 5th scale, because to do it in this environment is just impossible because the table's too small, yada yada yada, just filming, it's not going to work. So I'll be showing you at this scale process, but the pattern that I'll then fit and twirl, or twirl and then fit, will actually be full size. So you will see how it actually turns out. So with this one, I can just scan this into my printer or into my computer, and I have a little scale box and I can just scale it back up, and then I could print it out if I wanted to. I also did it for David. So this is David, my partner's. What's interesting, I don't think you'll see it on the screen, because our waists obviously sit at different places and our crotch depth and leg length. It's really fascinating to see how they compare. I don't know that you can see it through, but basically they're different, as you would expect, because every person's body is different. And the great thing about creating it in a miniature version, so I would guide you to follow along on the tutorials in a 5th scale. I've created a little spreadsheet that has the centimeters and inches, so you can just pop your measurements in and it will calculate what the 1/5 amount is, so you can use that. But the great thing about it is once you have this page, you can then use it as a template with some like thinner paper, tracing paper, whatever you've got, layout paper, and you can start designing like your ideal trousers over the top. So maybe if you've seen my DIY jeans, I did them February 2020, love them. I could recreate that pattern, because that pattern doesn't completely exist anymore, which is really frustrating because I cut it out and I've lost a piece of it. But I can use this as a guide. I can plot in that pattern design and then develop this into that. So it's just a really fun way to start making your own pant patterns and then your own pants or trousers, whatever you call it. So the upcoming videos related to this topic will be the basic method. So this is the one that I originally had on my website. Then I took it down because I wanted to update the graphics, like the images that show like how the different steps work. I felt that it wasn't very on brand and current, and so I took it down probably about 2 years ago now, and I literally get emailed about it every day. Well, not every day, but at least a couple of times a week I get asked, do you have your trouser pattern? Because people have done it before. Like, it was a very popular tutorial back when it was live, and it's just fallen off the list of things to do and update. So that's what I'm currently working on as well. So that will be the basic method, and that uses an existing skirt block that you may or may not already have. If you don't, I will link to a tutorial for that as well. Then there's the stand-up method. So I've got a couple of books. Being the prolific pattern maker that I am, I've got Pattern Making for Fashion Design by Helen Joseph Armstrong. I've also got the Metric Pattern Cutting for Women's Wear from Winifred Aldrich. And I thought I had another pattern cutting book somewhere, but I may have given it away. But what I also want to do is replicate using the same measurements that I did for my method. I want to replicate that using their methods to show you the difference in different techniques for drafting pant box, basically. So that'll be the second method. Then, sorry, the second video. The third video is going to be showing you how to clone a pair of trousers. So that's more of a DIY. If you have no interest in pattern making, pattern drafting, then a DIY method, so you can easily trace off and create a pattern and use that again and again. Fourth video will be my method, which is different to other people's methods. Most methods you'll find, they will have you create a line on a page and then work up from like one leg through to the next leg. I work from the center of the leg. So the center of the front leg, the center of the back leg, and we work it out accordingly. It just makes more sense to my brain, and that's the method that I use, and that's what I'll be teaching you. And then the fifth video will be the fitting, depending on how long it takes. Because, I don't want to keep you here for like an hour or longer. So the initial part of that video will be fitting my self-drafted trouser pattern or pant sloper, whatever you call it. I get so confused because I'm obviously British and Americans have different terminology, and I obviously want to make content that is suitable for everyone. So I stumble on my words sometimes. But yeah, I'll be showing you how to use the top-down center-out method to fit a self-drafted pattern, and if there's time I'll also show you how to use that method in order to adjust the fit for the other blocks as well. So the basic one, and then if I end up twining up the Winifred Aldrich and the Helen Joseph Armstrong methods, I will show you that too. So basically a series of 5 plus this is 6 videos, and hopefully you'll enjoy it, and hopefully you'll find it valuable, and hopefully it will help people for years to come. I will make sure to add the corresponding articles to my website in text and picture format for anyone that hates videos. But if you're here on YouTube, you clearly love video. And I'll also embed each of these videos in those respective articles so that if you want to be able to refer to the video, you could have it there as well. Phew, I'm exhausted. I think I need a cup of coffee. I'm going to leave it there for now. I think that's probably long enough. Thank you so much for watching. If there's anything specific that you have questions about when it comes to pattern making, let me know. I've got a community post somewhere asking you for any ideas on pattern making tutorials that you might have. It would seem that most of my audience is very, very keen for me to talk more about pattern making, pattern drafting, rather than like refashioning or fashion design or sewing. And I love pattern making. Like, I forgot to eat the other day. It got to like 8 o'clock and my dad had messaged me to check in on me, and I was like, oh Pa, you've had dinner already? And I was like, holy crap, I haven't even had like breakfast and lunch. When it comes to pattern making, I lose track of all time. So I'm very happy to teach you more of my mad skills when it comes to pattern making. But if there is anything specific you'd like to see first, pop it in the community tab, the post in the community tab, and then I can like bump it up the list. Right, I'm gonna stop waffling. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you again in a few days with the next video in the series. Take care, bye.